Right. So, hello everyone. This is Tuesday, the 15th of November, 2022. And we're engaging in Heaven's Realms. And we're beginning the encounter with something that Michelle and I were just talking about time, and time being a being, but also dimensions. And when I went through a time of questioning Father about time and whether I had enough time to do things, he started to show me how time for me at that stage was able to be a servant to me. I was not out of time. I wasn't, I hadn't lost time. I wasn't struggling with time. If I worked with time to serve me, to serve the purposes of Father. And I got introduced to these beings called Synchronicity and Flow that are wonderful angels that started to work with me so that I could not only undo some of the things in my family that had been tangled up in time, but also to then go forward and start exploring how to govern in my life and in my family around me's life, and then into the community that I live in and beyond. And I'm still exploring and still learning. So it's not that I've got all the answers, but very much that there's a partnership now with time, because I grew to the point where instead of time serving me, I'm now in collaboration with time. So we can sequence events, we can change the sequence of events, we can resynchronize our families together into a better timeline, Father's timeline, rather than ones that have been set up by ourselves or other maybe history. And so that's where I kind of started to explore and enjoy time. And we've had encounters, I know, on this platform before where we've talked about how we don't realize that we curse time by saying, oh, I've run out of time, I haven't got enough time, time isn't on my side, and all those sorts of foolish things that we say without really realizing. Whereas Father, created time so that we could synchronize and flow. We could go in and out of dimensions. Our souls and our bodies and our spirits could not only encounter each other and engage with each other in and out of time, if you like, different time zones, that sort of thing, but we could also come into unity together, and we can engage with people that are in slightly different sort of time understandings than ourselves, because you'll find people that are still in the sort of church understanding, or the evangelical timeline or whatever, and you can engage with them where they're at and be honorable to them and to their journey through time. And yet, because we're finding out more about the mysteries and secrets that Jesus has for us, we can then draw them into, if you like, a richer timeline for them to come into the expansion of truth and the expansion of love and the expansion and understanding that where they've been is not, they don't have to be fixed at that point where the church got very fixed, where it was almost like everything was so explained that there was nothing more to explain, and now we know that there's so much more. So we can help people to come out of that fixed timeline, if you like, into the beauty of the realms of time, with Father, where heaven's time has different paces in different realms and dimensions. Some of the time seems to speed up and a lot gets done, and then at other times it's a slow thing where Father wants us to really enter into rest and come into a time that is maybe weighty or still or restorative. So yeah, so that's kind of where we sort of started our conversation, Michelle and I, today, to see whether you'd like to kind of have more encounters or step into the realm of time and see what we get revealed, because we every time we step in time, we have time to explore, we have time to discover, we have time to treasure and to realize we are treasures too. So I'm just going to open that up to everyone to have time to engage, really. So if you'd like to engage in this whole understanding of time and sequence and synchronicity and flow and healing the elements of time, maybe, then we can come into agreement, and that's what we'll step in to do.
So this is where we are looking for some responses.
You know, this has been something I've been engaging, you know, for a while. And, you know, it fascinates me. I have, you know, a real like holy anticipation about this subject. And, you know, I've met an angel named Flo as well. So that's kind of fun. And Father Time, you know, is another being I've met and worked with. So I'm all for it. Sounds great to me. Sounds wonderful.
I just have more of a kind of a testimony a little bit. There was periods in my life where I definitely was operating with time miracles. Now I know we're engaging time. I know it's a little bit different. We're engaging the being of time. But I will say, I remember a long time ago, had all this stuff to do. And I said, God, you know, I'm just believing it's all gonna, you know, miraculously, we're gonna get it done. And so I took some time to engage and journal. And I journal. When I journal, I put the time on there. And I started journaling what I was experiencing. And I was with Yeshua in the heavenly realms. And I was, we're having fun. He was like, go ahead and we're running together. And then he would let me run ahead of him. And it was just very playful and very fun. And so I started running ahead of him. I was like, this is odd, but I was like, okay. And then like the next thing I know, I see him in a flash. As I'm running, he's walking backwards, eating grapes, like very leisurely, like just taking his sweet time. As I'm running, he's walking, and he was just showing me something about the bending, I guess, of time and so on. Well, anyways, when I got all done, and based on how I put the time, I definitely, like, an hour just vanished. It was exactly the same time when I got out of the encounter than it was when I started. And I was doing that for a good hour. So anyways.
Yeah, it sounds great. It's like the sequencing of time, isn't it? And the dimensions of time where you step in, and then, as you say, you step out, and you've maybe had a minute of earth time, and yet you've had a whole encounter of multitudes, proportions really of time. You could have I've heard of people doing this where they've been in a coma and they've had encounter after encounter. They've had years of time in heaven's realms, and then they come back out and they find they've been in a coma for 2 days, and yet they've experienced all this time in the dimensions. And there's so much more to unpack, really, in the dimensions of time, because Father's so generous. He doesn't just give us a lifespan of 70 years, 80 years, 90 years, 100 years. He gives us these multiple avenues of time that we can have rich time. I think it's Justin Abraham talks about rich time, where you can have beautiful encounters with your family that become key points in people's lives, that they always remember that conversation, they always remember that moment in time that made them change their minds about something, made them choose, helped them to make a decision that had life-changing consequences. And so entering into that realm of the ability to have rich time, life-changing time, is something that I would encourage us all to step into.
Well, shall we all just step in then?
Yes, I think we will step in and see what Father reveals. So as we come together, joining each of our spirits together as one, we each come with our own angels in our own house, that we come in together as one house, as one in spirit, one in intention, one in our thinking, to step in and have revelation on the dimensions of time, the time that can heal, the time that can be restorative, the time that can bring us into a deeper revelation of Father's love. So we step into that time. And as we step in, then please, if you see, touch, taste, smell, appreciate, perceive something that you want to share, then please share that as we come together. But also just allow yourself time to absorb and see and hear and taste and touch before you share. As we step in together, I'm kind of aware of It's a bit like a metronome, you know, that sort of clicking sound that you get when somebody's learning a piece of music, to how to play it in time, so that we come into time with each other. So we come into time with the piece of music that's playing, so that we can learn how to pace almost this score, this piece of music that we're learning to play. And so I'm just hearing this sort of metronome, bringing us all in together, bringing us together as one, bringing us into this. See it as a piece of music that Father has for us to encounter and to also to take part in. Like we're creating a beautiful symphony together. But there's a timing. So just as an orchestra learns the piece of music and then learns when to come in as their piece, as their solo, if you like, or their a major part or minor part as they step in and out of the sequence. I'm just seeing that we're being kind of drawn into the metronome, the timing, so that we can become one together.
So I was seeing circles when Zoe was talking about us coming into this flow where we will even discern when to share among us. I was just seeing these circles and I began to see that time is not like a line, linear. But when I began to remember that time was circular, I began to see like a drop of throwing, say, a stone into water, how it expands in concentric circles. And I began to see that a moment that we experience is not just a moment, it expands ever expandedly. In other words, a moment lives on and on and on and on. A momental experience you have of time lives on in eternity.
Yeah,
And
and
unless you
also,
unless you dismantle it, or in the sense of unless you cancel it, that memory, unless you, yeah.
yes, I was going to say, it lives, it just lives within us as well. Um, so, I was kind of looking at the metronome and watching it go, back and forth. And then that turned into like kind of misty clouds that would move back and forth, like people swaying. And then I realized that they were angels that were keeping the time. And then I heard, everything is in heaven or in the spirit realm has perfect timing.
When you said that, maybe it was just me, but when you said that, I was just hearing everything in heaven is now. And I feel like we learn in heaven where they're still learning. There's such expansion, but somehow I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't know if it's both.
But I agree with you that it's now from there. And then it manifests in the earth perfectly. So it's almost like, for me, it's like a release time. I think all of the releasing that's done is done, perfectly. Because in earth, yes, we are affected by time, but we also have the ability to live outside of it, as you shared.
Interesting. I wonder, we've said that we live outside of time, and we sort of mean that we are in eternity, but isn't eternity part of time?
Exactly. I don't, okay. So I feel like part of my experience right now is I'm seeing things, but I'm also, it's like being downloaded with just basic revelation on this, And I was thinking of how when Jesus went to the cross and what he did, he redeemed the time. amongst so many other things. And so I was just engaging with, but initially I saw just a big bright light before I saw any of that. And then, we say things like we're the new man or the new wine, or, or new wineskin. And I was just hearing kind of like it, like new time, you know, because people can choose to live. We have choice. And he made all things new. And so the time was redeemed, and it's different. And so then I started seeing like the blood of Yeshua, and then I was like sensing it it it, it contained the DNA of time somehow. And so I was just recognizing I was looking at the DNA of time somehow, if that makes any sense at all. And so I think of those, I'm seeing like those circles that Michelle was talking about, but I'm also seeing like a bunch of circles with just burst of light, just like light explosions coming out of them. I'll just say one last thing. I I feel like just being taught a lesson, like there's a lesson I'm experiencing. And so like I was like, well, what's with this new time, or really just true time, renewed time? And I just heard it's like eating from the tree of life, versus the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So people have a choice what kind of time they're going to live in.
I think that what I'm getting is that it's more about what we create in time. That could be a negative experience, or the tree of knowledge of good and evil experience, or a abundant life experience. Not time itself, but what we're creating in that moment.
Yeah, and and not to get into too much dialogue because we're all engaging, but like I was getting, like I feel like I'm just being teaching, like I don't have it fully, but I thought of the scenario of someone running late for something. You know, we usually figure, oh, God works it all out, but running late and let's just pretend they're operating in poor time. Well, that can't steal someone who's walking in the revelation and creating time, or in other words, the person they're meeting with can still be living in rich time, even though the person they're meeting with is late. I don't know. It's just like, I want to get into more the frequencies of it all and different revelations, but I feel like prior to jumping on this call, I've had so much I have to do. So it's kind of ironic that I feel like I'm getting a little bit of a lesson to kind of open things up for me. But yeah, so.
So I would say we're in a different time at the same time, but in a different experience at the same time.
Are you're asking the group that, right?
I was just commenting on it.
I feel like we can observe. I don't know. It's kind of like if you're having a great day and someone's having a bad day. If we're operating rich time and we're meeting with someone who's been operating in poor time, that's the love and the grace and the compassion that covers it. That it's like all the above, but we're in the richer time, but we stepped in, in love to meet someone where they're at, for instance. So I think it's like, and we're all one. So somehow I feel like it's just like they all overlap somehow. That's just my sense.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's like I was saying earlier that you can be in father's time and yet you're encountering someone that's in a timeline that is slightly skewed or off. And so you can step into that with the atmosphere of heaven and surround them with the beauty of that so that they can then have a choice to step beyond the time that they're in into something more, into engaging something bigger or more expansive or more peaceful. So you're kind of creating an atmosphere of the beauty of time, time to change, time to make a decision, time to turn around or see that there's an alternative to the place they're in. So yeah, I would agree with you there.
Okay, I need to slow down. I don't want to talk this much, so I really try not to. I just had this desire, and maybe others do too. But when you said that, Zoe, I was thinking we're all in different places right now, but we're all together in the same place. And I thought it'd be really cool to intentionally honor where we each are right now in this moment, but at the same time, set an intention to be all in the same place, which is already the case, but I just had that thought.
Okay, so you said it yourself, the same time. So we're coming together in unity in time, in the same moment, in the same spiritual space, in the same heart of love, really. So yeah, we can all sort of join hands and join our spirits together to be in that one unifying moment of time. And out of the richness of each of our spirits and our encounters and our knowledge of time, we can surround and infuse each other, if you like, with the expansiveness of all that we've learned, so we can, in a way, encounter each other's knowledge and understanding. So it's a beautiful thing, because we all then become one and are richer for it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And just to clarify, all while that's happening, it's like we're honoring exactly what God is doing with each one of us. We're honoring exactly where each person is for and our own self, and yet we're in this oneness, exactly how you said it.
Just really feeling that sense of releasing to each of us the rich time, the rich timeline that Father has for us, the sequencing, the synchronicity, the flow. We each have things in our lives that need to come together in a certain order, in a certain timeline, you know, whether it's finances or work or family, or maybe all of those things, that there's a wonderful timing, you know, he makes all things beautiful in his time, and so we want to come into the beauty of time. And I just want to bless each one of you with synchronicity and flow and resources and understanding and clarity and joy and peace and purpose and profitability. Father is such a generous Father that he wants each of us to be at rest with his provision for all things, and the beauty. He makes all things beautiful in this time. So the beauty, I want to release beauty to each one of you, to have beauty in the timing of things, and it's that reveling when you see what Father's doing. You suddenly get that moment where you actually see it, and you can't help but be in awe of his beauty and synchronizing the events of your life together. I've been thinking of that recently with looking after my parents, and all the jobs that I've done have all given me insight and wisdom and experience in order to care for them. And I've just been thanking God for each of those jobs that I've done, that has enriched the time that I have with them, and my ability to care for them. And some of those, you know, experiences were quite difficult at the time, but the timing was wise in Father's in Father's investment in my life, just for this right time, just for now, just for the season I'm in. And so I just want to bless each one of you with that in understanding of all the experiences of your lives that have come to this point that will really enrich your understanding of the generosity of Father's love and the freedom to have time to do everything you need to do right now. Those of you that have been late in coming into the encounter or engaging with the dimension of time and the richness of time, and also the synchronicity of love and grace in within time. Joy to you, and grace to you, and peace to you, and provision to you in time.
What was also coming to me was the experience of feeling like you've missed out on something. And in other words, it's still something that should have happened back then and it didn't. And you're still carrying it along in a way, either discouraged or some way. It's still there, but you feel like you lost it, or you're out of time with it, or it's lost its place. It couldn't come to pass. I was feeling like, this is the opportunity to go back and take that and bring it into the now, because you can bring it into the now and not feel like, oh, well, it's too late, or a disappointment, or it's just dragging along with you unresolved. You can go and take it, and you can bring it right back into your present, and you can have it manifest. That particular time moment where you feel like you missed the moment, if I can put it that way. And now you don't know how to catch up, or it's still hanging, as I said, still hanging on to you. It's something that still now needs to be done, but you seem to be out of step on it. But you can go back, possess it, and bring it into the now, and it'll start to flourish for you.
Yeah, so I would agree with that, because I think that's where I started my encounters with time, where I thought that I had lost an opportunity or wasted an opportunity, and Father showed me it wasn't the case. And it's a bit like, I think I was thinking of Naomi and Ruth in the Bible, where Naomi thought that she'd lost opportunities, that she'd wasted opportunities, that she'd lost so much. And yet Ruth placed a baby on her lap and said, this is your offspring. You know, she got a child by a means that Father had devised for her to have the joy of having a child sitting on her lap. And it's just something that's in that for each of us. If we've got disappointments or what we would think of as lost opportunities, they're not lost, actually, because Father can redeem that time, those moments, those situations, and bring life, like the child sitting on Naomi's lap, that can bring life out of a death situation where she'd lost her sons, but yet there was life in the relationship between her and Ruth. So, you know, there's kind of like something really deeply dynamic in this time, this rich time, that can give us back that which looked like it was dead, that it was gone forever, but it's not.
Something that I'm just getting is we can actually also go forward in time on the timelines to perceive what needs to be in order to set in order for now what needs to happen.
Yes, that's beautiful too, because it's preparation, isn't it? We can prepare the way. um, yeah, I agree with you, Dimitri.
The word that keeps standing out to me with this, like redeeming the time, and what you just shared, Dimitri, really opened things up to something I knew but lost track of, and prior to you sharing, I just kept hearing about like the new time, or his redeeming the time. Part of that is promise. There's the aspect of taking the promise, or the promised land, actually, so to speak.
Because what I was seeing is I was looking and trying to engage with things missed and past and stuff like that, and things where things have not gone according to how they should have because of missed opportunity. And I saw suddenly being projected forward in time and seeing things days ahead and setting everything in order now, in order for the time of the missed opportunities to be redeemed and created afresh in the new.
I also saw that to redeem a time is to take away all the, let's say connections in a situation, a moment of experience, to take away all the connections to it that were contrary or painful, and just receive back the intent and the desire and the purity of that moment is part of redeeming, how time redeems for us, I believe.
I was getting that too, Michelle. Like, I actually was seeing like the negativity attached to periods in our timeline almost like we in general had, like I saw like a tack, like putting it on a board, like it was locked in, you know? And I just kept seeing like, God's like, if that wasn't my true desire for you, yeah, it happened. But if it wasn't my best for you, you can remove that and take that attachment that's been locked in place in the timeline, the pain, and let him take that out of your story.
It's like we can restore everything to rich time.
Yeah, I saw myself throwing stuff in what looked like a wastebasket, but I realized it was like all the bad times or all the things that didn't go right or all the things that seemed lost. I saw myself like throwing it in almost what looked like a big, huge canister, but it was what I saw was it was actually like a time capsule of like new time or redeemed time. And I was just throwing all the disappointments and all the junk, you know, all the bad memories, just throwing it in and just letting God do what he's going to do, because the redemptive time overtakes all the old time, all the poor time. And so I kind of look at it as like wearing filthy rags of memory, like old clothing, like when Joseph changed out of his prison clothes, like just throwing all those garments of what I've worn and throwing it all in there for the new man to experience the redeemed time.
And that also goes along with removing death out of every part of our being. Every connection to death out of every part of our being, the past, you know, just removing it so that life and abundant life is connected now fully. It was like I saw a shimmering waves or shimmering dots, if I could put it that way, just going right back into all the dots of experience we've had in time, and just releasing the light of life, abundant life.
I think that's the circular explosions of light I was seeing. Like it's exploding it out of the memory of the DNA even.
I think time is showing us the expression that he has to redeem. That's what I think time is showing us. To redeem us, to redeem our lives.
So as like I'm just being taught, like earlier, I'm not saying this is the grandest revelation, but it was just touching on parts of my soul, ministering to parts of my soul. And so I was hearing, like, imagine some of those things you wanted, getting them at those points in time where you wouldn't have been able to really, you weren't operating in the new man, or you weren't where you are today. So part of the redeeming of the time is actually what I've done in you to have it be fully rich. And so really it understanding the redeeming of the time is huge, but partnering with the healing and the promises and the redemption for our own life is really a big, huge part of the equation, of course, right? So there's certain things that felt like hope deferred, but wow, like getting them now versus then is so much more powerful for me.
I'm hearing what you're saying there, Arabella. I'm getting something similar. I've actually got the words, the past is in the past, therefore leave it in the past. The past is past. And I thought about this for a few moments, and then I heard clearly, therefore, see the future through the eyes of a changed past in the fulfilling of that which is the future, bringing it into the now.
When you said that, Dimitri, I saw like a boundary, a wall of light pushing back the darkness of the past, of the memories, of everything that didn't serve, like it's not allowed to be where we're going, and that in God's love and desire, he wants to set like a wall of light, where the darkness can't come forward into the future. It's like, no, not anymore. No more.
Also, when you said that, Dimitri, and when you were saying what you were saying too, Arabella, I was getting, when Jesus died on the cross, he went back in time to in the beginning and restored all the moments to richness, to rich time for us. Because he destroyed death.
Yeah, it's like I see like a spiral of DNA, his DNA of redemptive time, untethering all the spirals of connection, poor connections to the darkness. And it's just an undoing. It's an undoing. And just like any great story, the past just doesn't look the same when there's an overcoming blessing, when we're walking in overcoming and walking in the promises and the new man and the new life. It just doesn't matter anymore.
And we went back in
Michelle,
time with him in the cross. You know, we went back with him,
yeah,
right back into that place, to the very beginning, to redeem every moment into the light and life without any death in it. So, yeah.
Michelle, as you were speaking earlier, I got such a clear picture of where Paul writing says the transgressions and the handwriting of the past was nailed with him to the cross, and they were blotted out. And as I heard that, I saw like this big chalkboard duster blotting out everything from the past that was negative in any form when he went back in time. And only that which was a pure, clean slate in the fullness of life moves forward with us.
Oh, and when you said that, Dimitri, it was like it was like Jesus, I saw Jesus, you know, if things were written on a blackboard, right? And there was all kinds of squiggles around the things that were written on the blackboard, and he just wiped out all the squiggles. But the essence of the very nature of God in each of us, that was left as living life from eternity past to up till now and even future.
Yes, that's why Paul says the handwriting of the transgressions of the past was blotted out. Everything, a transgression is everything that opposes the truth of God.
Yeah, I'm seeing it as the future now is now. So the
Yes.
future now becomes the now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's a wow now.
As we've been engaging, I've just been practicing something. We were supposed to be having 50% rain from 8 o'clock. I've just been focusing on a beautiful sunshine day tomorrow, which is forecast, and bringing it into the now. And we haven't had any rain yet.
So the future now is now.
Yes.
So when I saw like a tack or like a nail, as if we had held like painful times in our life as like big parts of our story, it's like, well, that was all nailed to the cross, and we have permission to no longer let that be the keys of our story. The pain is no longer the big parts of our story, unless it's somehow fully been redeemed by the light, to share.
Yes, that's why it then brings back the beautiful moments to life.
And that's where those stories come from. Look what God did for me. Look what he did. Look what he did. It's no longer, oh, look what was done, you know?
Also got time is not connected to failure, or you're a failure or you failed. Time is not connected to that. There's no resonance frequency within time that has anything to do with failure. Heaven doesn't see us that way.
Because it's been washed by redemption.
You may want to say that out loud. Any of you might want to say, you know, I'm not connected to failure. I'm not connected to, I've never been connected to failure. And you may want to loose your soul from that if you've carried that in any way.
I've never been connected to failure.
I've never been connected to failure, and failure does not exist in my life.
Same as me. I'm not connected in failure and it's not exist in my life. I don't accept it. I rebuke it.
I felt like as we said that, it was almost like, you know, when a spring is very tightly sprung and all of a sudden that spring just released. And so the inner tension of those thoughts or beliefs or patterns of neuron pathways that connected to failure or having failed or considering yourself failed, it just was released. Like that spring was just let loose. No longer was it tight and no longer was it, you know, held within the soul.
Yeah, I felt that. And I just want to say it again with more clarity that I'm not connected to failure, past, present, or future, ever.
Agreed.
Agreed.
I agree.
I kind of felt like when we said that, it was like opening a portal of just an opening for us. It was like opening for freedom.
As Arabella said that as well, I actually saw sin and death has been abolished. It's been blotted out. Therefore, we need to embrace life in the fullness of its abundance in the now.
Molly, did you have something to say?
Ah, as one, we are as one, so agreement as one.
So now I see in every part of my being, body, soul, and spirit, I see it just all the memory and the wrong alignment now has been blotted out and redeemed and restored by light. And I just see like those flashes of light just hitting like all the cellular structures, all the different parts, even in our physical body. And it's just like fireworks, like it's gone. And that's how I feel that's how I'm being partnered with it. Like I'm seeing it happen.
As you're talking there, but I literally saw like these fireballs hitting the 70 trillion cells in my body and just blotting out, and the fire of God's purification, just removing everything that they no longer exist in the DNA.
Yeah. And I see like a redemption, like how people would put on the armor of God. I see like kind of like that wall I saw. I see like a shield of light around our entire being, that nobody or no thing that's chosen a different a lower time or a time connected with death, it has no influence, it has no place. It's like it's like an armor protecting from those fiery darts that would say otherwise, that we have that. And we're fixed on this truth now.
And I felt like that portal that I said was just like opened up to us. It was is how heaven has always seen us is now opening up to us. How heaven has always seen us from the beginning and all the way through.
I almost want to say time is always present, never past, never future. It's always present. So in other words, your past is memories and your future is, dreams and desires and that kind of a thing. But time is always present. It's always now. And you can always live in time. So in other words, work through issues or, focus on the things that God has for you, that kind of a thing. But everything is always now. We can move into it now.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's really hard to put into words what I was shown about a year ago, and what Lisa just said pretty well explains the whole thing. It's all now, and we have the power and ability to see it with a different perspective, to see it that way. And when we do, that's where the miracles will happen.
So time actually works hand in hand with faith. For now, faith is. So everything to do with faith is working in the time of now.
So that I see like a golden rug, like a rug of light. You know, people want to walk the red carpet. I saw like a golden robe of light, like being rolled out into my past. And it's like the whole timeline is cleansed and there's a new way of looking at it. And so yeah, I received again, we've already said it, but I received that full redemption into my memories and into my dreams. And it is now. It is now. And there's a boundary of the redemption now. There's a boundary that says you can't, like, the thinking has changed. My mind is renewed with this truth.
I'm just getting a clear picture of the I am. The I am is not I am going to be. I am is always now. Therefore, as God is I am, and we are in I am, it's always now.
And now is a moment like a dot, but it also is an ever expanding reality, like the dot you throw into the water that has more and more and more, expansion.
The ripple effect just keeps going.
I was thinking of the term, the butterfly effect, right? What was that? There was some documentary on that and how everything is all connected and affected by different things. So when I think of butterflies, though, I think of redemption. So it's really cool.
I also like the idea of present. Time is present, as in now, but time is present. Present as in, yes, a gift, but also present as in always now, always with you, always. It's almost like God, the comfort, the just Him being with you. So you're never alone. He's always present. God is always present, and He's always present as in always present now. And we can now work on our past if we have to, or God can show us certain things that we can change. And you change that by the way you think about it, and you step into the truth, like Arabella said, stepping onto that golden carpet, saying, I'm stepping into this truth. I'm changing my past. I am now a son of God. I am now manifesting His glory. I am now healed. I am now everything, because He is present and He's with me always.
I am now a millionaire.
We need to
Amen.
talk.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm a millionaire too in my reality and in my soul. More than a millionaire, trillionaire. I love it.
And even as we are seeing that time is now, and we are experiencing present now, we are also recognizing time will expand for us, time will contract for us, time will connect us into different flows. And so earlier on, we were talking about synchronicity and flow. And so there's a lot of function to time for us, right?
Yes, Michelle, what you just said. I've got this picture almost of, standing away from, the earth and, away from the cosmos, away from everything that's created, just standing inside God, and just knowing that everything, in other words, you've got a bird's eye view, you can see everything at once. So it's not just a dot. Yes, you can zoom into one specific dot, but time is like standing above everything and look at everything, and not, but we can also zoom in and out, if you can put it that way. And that is how we are created, us as spirit. We are spirit, which allows us to move freely in flow and synchronicity with where God is leading us throughout time. And we are always going through it now.
Yes, and if we always realize that time is totally connected to life, connected to abundant life, and not to anything to do with death, then we are walking with time. We are walking with eternity. We are walking with immortality. So, but we are in a flow, in a dance, walking or dancing or running together with time. And that's where the beauty I see of what Zoe shared earlier comes into, where in our days we just are able to see how to really flow with heaven in the moments, and have richness of all these moments. When to speak, when to be quiet, when all those aspects is to do with a beautiful dance or flow with time. We're able to see more who time is today.
Yeah, and just to touch on one other thing that it's like I'm just in this big lesson plan and experience. And again, so much what I'm hearing is so much of not experiencing that redeeming of the time is really about unforgiveness towards self or others, or even just the situations in general, like what happened. And like even, some catastrophe on the earth or something maybe affected somebody. But it's this forgiveness. Um, and I don't know, just like I just see myself like if something comes up that unsettles me regarding a person or situation, it's like I just release God's redeeming light and time to you. I release you and I release God's redeeming time and life and light to you. And I receive it. I release it to myself. I receive it for myself and like move on. And that so much of walking in this is forgiving in the moment, in suddenlies, like as soon as something is happening that is not God's plan or desire, it's like I just release you, or I release that, and I release God's redeeming time and life and love into that now and for myself. And you just keep moving on, moving on.
Beautiful.
Bella, as you were saying that, you have three types of people: those who wait for something to happen, those who make something happen, and those who wonder what happened.
I love it. I love it. I'll just tell you to go with what Lisa was sharing, a lot of what she was sharing. I still saw myself like more like a vision of going on this golden car. It's like grounded, it's golden, but it's light and it's elevated too. And like I just see like myself walking with Jesus and into the past actually. And of course we can do this into the future, but walking into the past, and that golden rug is like a boundary line again. Like it can't hit me, it can't speak to me in wrong ways. The past cannot abuse me. And I go back, and it's almost like he's walking me through, like a lecturer, like walking me through a lesson and teaching me about anything that I hadn't allowed the redeeming time and light to come into fully. Where there's been any resistance, he can just, with his little like a scepter, actually I saw, like he's just pointing to it and like discussing it with me, just like answering the questions that maybe my soul needed to hear, or hearing his truth about the situation or myself. And so I actually, but it's beautiful because on when you stay with Yeshua on this golden carpet, it's none of it can touch you. It's you're completely protected from any of it actually having a voice. You're speaking to it with him, but it can't speak to you anymore in a way.
I agree with that. It goes along with what I was shown, is that time really can't affect us. It can't stop us because it's all of it is now. It's in the moment. I guess that's how I would put it.
Yeah, like we don't have to go into the past, but there's grace. We can't pretend if we've been affected by something in the past, even now, we know in our mindset we're not. We know what to speak over ourselves, but in his great, like he wants to deal with it. So whether it's been let go fully or not, like he's going to deal with it. But I do feel like the revelation is so much about the I am, like Dimitri is saying, in the now. Who are you now? And just letting those truths burn it all up and just permeate into the timeline and the past of a lower way.
Lisa said, see then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time. So to walk in and with wisdom, you know, is,
Whoa.
trying to pull this up. Right.
Whoa, that's so good.
Which means we walk with him always, and that is how we redeem time. And I was just thinking how Jesus walked and walked together in this union with time, you know, and they said, oh, Jesus, come and be with us. And he said, not now. And he went somewhere else. So they said, oh, Jesus, you need to come because Lazarus is dead, and took him 4 days before he got there. And because he was always walking in this flow of synchronicity with the you know, the flow of heaven was what he was walking with, that he was walking with time in the true essence of who time is, that time is connected to life and immortality and not to death of any sort. And there's something beautiful, even another thing that goes along with wisdom. It says a word spoken at the right moment, at the right time, right, is like apples of gold in a setting of silver. In other words, it's like love encased in purity and clarity. And it produces a harvest.
I'm just seeing this beautiful golden carpet, and I suddenly pictured the movie Aladdin, and I saw us all riding this beautiful golden carpet of light into the future and bringing the future into our present, and the golden carpet of light has not meant to be part of our future. And it's like just riding on these waves of air and light on this carpet.
There really is something to that magic carpet ride thing. That's of totally heaven. It really is.
On the carpet moving through time.
Molly, could you say that again a little louder, please?
Sorry. I just saw it as being on the carpet, moving through time.
Beautiful.
I'm seeing two things that kind of remind me of the analogy Michelle had earlier with the spring, you know, being springed forward. I saw like when one part of darkness in the past, well, just for lack of whatever, anyways, like once that is dealt with, and it's like a launching spring, like that carpet ride forward. But also it doesn't necessarily have to be about talking to God about a specific situation. It can just be in the now, partnering with his truth now. And just even things like I'm free, you know, I'm whole, and whatever else, I'm abundant, I am fruitful, I am full of life, whatever it is. But what I saw was like that it's springing. You deal with something on that carpet with Yeshua, the golden carpet, and you deal with it, and it just pushes you forward so fast. And the same as every time we partner with the truth. That's what it does.
Yes, and when you said that going on this carpet, and you said just free flowing, Molly, what came to me was cloud riders. We are cloud riders, far above all powers, principalities, rulers, dominions, and every name that can be named.
Doesn't that kind of go along with mastering time, I would think? I mean, what if we were all to focus as a group maybe this week on mastering time and asking for revelation on how to master time? That's what I would call it. Gosh, I mean, maybe that's a key.
Would the mastering of time be in the moment, though, bringing all time to that truth of death having been finished? An only life. So the only moment of life is the moment now.
I don't think we're mastering time, but I think we're walking with time in who time really is, the blueprint that was created of time, to understand the mysteries of time and then to walk within that reality of the mysteries. So it's not overcoming time, because time is not our enemy. Time is a beautiful, beautiful being of blessing, created to keep a beautiful memory of our lives from eternity past, forever and ever.
Yeah. Before you said that, Michelle, right with what you're saying, I saw it as, yeah, time can serve us, but it's actual mutual submission. Like we submit to one another, the value and the beauty and the truth and the ways of time, of redeemed time. And it serves us and submits to us and like the plans of God and the scrolls and so on and so forth.
It's embracing time. It's embracing the fullness of who we are in time and who time is with us.
I want to do that right now. I see just like, I just see like the essence. I just see so much white actually. And I think a little bit of gold, but I'm seeing it, time in a different way.
I think I would say I love time. I honor time. I bless time. I'm grateful for time. I'm grateful for my relationship with time. I agree with time's blueprint for me, and I'm happy to grow in that relationship.
Thank you, time, that we can be time travelers with you. We can go wherever we need to in you. And
I'd like to ask for the truth of time.
That's
Sorry, Molly, I didn't catch that. Could you say it again? Sorry.
Sorry, I'd like to ask for the truth
you.
of time over what anything else that time has been, however it's been represented.
Molly, right when you said that, right, like right before you said that, I was in my heart, I was saying, I honor true time.
Yes.
I may not fully understand what that is, but I honor God's
Yes.
true time. And I just break agreement with the false measure and description of a false time,
Yes.
a wrong time.
Yes.
That shows me there's a confirm there on something. There's a truth there.
Time is an enricher, brings in the richness of Father's provision and care and love, and anything else is not true time, is not rich time, is not Father's timeline. So the truth is easy to see when you see whether you feel robbed or diminished, or you feel at peace and you feel at rest in it. And wherever you don't feel at rest in it, you know that there's time to redeem, and you can redeem the time.
I'm just suddenly, as you guys are speaking, seeing time is not to be measured. Time, true time, is outside of measurement, because when you measure time, you're restricting time.
That's a really good point, Dimitri, because they know there's this what do we call it? Measurement, right? That says distance times speed equals time. It's a measurement. But when I thought about that, I thought,
Your
okay,
equation for
yeah, it's an equation. Yeah, the distance times speed equals time. But when I thought about that, I thought, well, that's interesting because there's no distance in the spirit. So how do you know? And our thoughts are instant. So in other words, it's like, you know, our thoughts are now. So as you said, you can't really put time in. You can't really box time into in something like that, like a measurement.
You know, that goes along with when I used to, you know, practice engaging rich time, or, you know, whatever. I used to think, oh, every miracle I've ever experienced has to do with a time. It's really a time miracle is what I used to think. But now I realize it's true time reality. The miracles we've seen is actually the truth of how time was intended to work.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's where synchronicity comes in. And, you know, the now is, from my point of view, it's all potential. So in the moment, or, you know, we're talking about several truths here. But in the now, there is potential for anything. And it's often up to us. But I wouldn't say it's 100% of the time either. I think there, at the same time, there is a blueprint that Father has for each one of us, separately and together. And then that is what, you know, will form the synchronicity and the pattern or the timeline for our lives.
synchronicity, what I'm seeing is the aligning ourselves with time and its purpose.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, funny, right at the same time, who was it that was just speaking? I was just saying, I agree. I just partner with God's true time, you know, in true timeline for my life. But I also was hearing that, you know, we're saying time is now, or, you know, whatever. I'm just hearing redemption is now. Redemption is now.
You know,
Wholeness
Lisa
is now.
posted, isn't time in the Merkaba, and so in us, which then gives us access to all time and all realities and all possibilities. And yes, that's true. And when we went into, well, actually, the Merkaba, sorry, I was thinking Metatron. The cube. I was thinking time
Yes,
is
sorry.
connected.
Yeah,
Metatron, yes.
Metatron.
Yeah, and so
Yes, sorry.
Metatron, yeah, the angel Metatron is the angel with the keys to connections with time, with the being time. Yeah, you know, I think we're discovering mystery, and so we're just learning some things, but nothing is hard and fast. I mean, the more we get resonating with the thing, the more it's great, and then it'll grow into other things. So, great time of sharing.
I'm just having a flashback to the movie The Matrix, where the key maker, which to me represented Metatron, took them through time holes and time portals. And I'm seeing Metatron as more than just, as we would think, angels, but a being that is so encompassing in the order that God has placed him in, that he actually is able to show us how to transcend the restrictions we've put on time.
It kind of goes along with asking, I don't know, being as a group, as one body, looking for more revelation on this now. There may be power in numbers. Time is a massive thing.
It's a whole kingdom within itself.
Well, I just repent for partnering with counterfeit time, a false time, and putting restrictions and limitations on true time.
Let's take everything that we've engaged into the garden of our heart right now and express our gratitude, and even the things that we've spoken that we may not even have properly understood, but we've spoken, then we've got a glimpse of them. Let's take it all in. We just embrace synchronicity and flow. We embrace the being you are, time, the true being. We embrace your blueprint. We embrace everything, Father, Jesus, and Holy Spirit, that you created with regard to us and time and all the beauty of it. And we embrace the powerful work of redemption that time gives us. We're just so grateful that things are breaking open for us into life and immortality in the past, in the present, in the future, in the now. And so we take it, and you may want to just plant this in your garden in a certain way so that you know that it's there. You could plant it as anything, trees, rivers, whatever, or Father Time. I don't know. It's up to you how you want to plant in your garden, but just take it in for the moment into the garden of your heart with gratitude, and let it be planted in there, because now we're moving forward in a new place with time.
I just want to
Thank
share what I saw while I was doing that. I saw it like a massive gem that I put into the ground. But as I was sitting there, I realized there were many balloons around me. It's almost like helium balloons. And I can let go of certain balloons and I can draw other balloons towards me. It's almost like you can play around with it and you can take what you want, but you can release what you don't want. Old memories, false imaginations or false ways of thinking of things, but you draw truth towards you and you let go of the things that you don't need. So I just wanted to share that.
Beautiful. Thank you, Lisa.